Hello, my friends. This is the very first tutorial video for our Makerspace in a Box that we're doing this summer for the first time at the Livonia Library. So let's talk about how this is going to work. Each week, if you get a Makerspace in a Box, it's going to come with a video where I'm going to teach you how to do the activity in the box, and I'm going to talk about the fairy tale that the activity is connected to. Because if you don't know, the theme for summer reading this year is Imagine Your Story, which, you know, means like fairy tales and folk tales and stuff. So every single Makerspace is going to be connected to a different fairy tale. So week one, our very first one, hopefully it's a good one, is going to be this pool noodle plane, and it is connected to the story of Sky Woman, the legend of Sky Woman. So it's also, this story is also sometimes called Turtle Island, and there are a ton of different versions of this story, so I'm just going to tell one. But the legend of Sky Woman is a Native American origin story. It's the creation story for the our actual local indigenous people. That indigenous is another word for Native American. So you have probably learned in school that we live in the land that was once owned, that was once lived on by the Iroquois Confederacy, and that was made up of 5 tribes, and they were... I messed this part up, but it's made up of the Mohawks, Oneidas, Onondagas, Cayugas, and Senecas. We were taught in schools that it was called the Iroquois Confederacy, but actually the 5 tribes in the Confederacy are actually called in the native language the Haudenosaunee people, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. And I think maybe that was just too hard to pronounce or something, because for whatever reason historians call them the Iroquois people. And they are super cool, and they have really cool stories. And so yeah, so let's talk about Sky Woman. I found this one version so I can read it out to you guys. And you know, when we say creation story, do you guys know what that means? It's like, you know, people who are Christians, the creation story is that like God created the world in 7 days, and that's the story that's told in the Bible. And the story that is told by the Haudenosaunee people is about Sky Woman, which I now have said like 8 times, but and another cool thing about the Haudenosaunee people is that they didn't really like write down their histories and stuff in books. What they did was they had these beads that were called wampum, and that is how they communicated. It worked as currency, which is like money, and most of the storytelling in the history is done orally, which means with words. All right, let me find my page. All right. Okay, so long ago, a couple lived high up in the sky. The husband was a great sachem who loved his beautiful wife and wanted to fulfill her dreams. The wife, who was going to have a baby, dreamed almost every night. One night she had a most unusual dream. She dreamed that the tallest tree in the sky had been uprooted. When she told her husband, he thought about it for a while, and then he requested that 6 of the strongest sky warriors pull up the tallest tree. They tugged and tugged, but the tree would not budge. Finally, the husband grasped the tree in his arms and pulled it up himself. With one large sigh, the tree's roots let go their grip in the sky. The great sachem fell backward, and the tree its branches and roots flew in all directions. The wife peered into the deep hole left by the tree. She could see a dim reflection in the darkness below. She squinted her eyes and trying to get a good look, and then lost her balance and fell. As she fell, she, clutched desperately at the tree, but she couldn't get a hold of anything, and all she got were some seeds and berries in her hand. And she continued to fall. She drifted downward, as this story says swans, but actually it was geese, from what I have heard. She drifted downward as geese, otters, ducks, beavers, and muskrats gazed toward the sky in horror. "What can we do?" asked Otter. "She has no wings. Her feet are not webbed. Her tail is not broad. She is not a water creature." A large group of geese nodded to one another and rose silently into the air. They spread their wings until they were all touching one another. Together they made a low feather cloud that floated just above the water. Slowly the Sky Woman came down and landed on their soft wings. The geese were pleased with their rescue, but they were confused. "Now what?" asked one of the swans. "We have saved her, but we cannot hold her up forever." Said one of the ducks, "I know what she needs." And he dove into the water, his webbed feet paddling as hard as he went. The duck saw the earth at the bottom of the water, but he couldn't reach it. Again and again he dove. Again and again he was not successful. When the others had figured out what he was trying to reach, they volunteered to dive. "Let me go," said Beaver. Beaver dove down but could not reach the soft earth on the bottom. Discouraged and breathless, she returned and joined the others. "Hurry," said the geese. "We cannot hold her up for much longer." "I will go," volunteered the muskrat. She dove deep down beneath the cold water. Muskrat was gone for a very long time. "Should we go after her?" asked Beaver, as the group flipped anxiously around in the water. No one seemed to know what to do. Then Muskrat surfaced. I have it, she exclaimed. Clutched in her paw was a thick clump of dark black earth. The swans were baffled, the geese were baffled. "Now you have earth, so what? We are holding up this woman who is going to have a baby, and still we have no place to put her." Just then, a giant turtle surfaced from beneath the water. Her large eyes rolled back around in her head, and her arms and legs flapped lazily back and forth as she bobbed towards them. "Put the soil on my back," said the turtle. Beaver hurried over and plunked her paw full of earth on the turtle's back. Then Turtle rolled her eyes upward and said to the geese, "Now put Sky Woman on my back." Exhausted, the geese glided over and gently set her down. The woman who fell from the sky was very happy to be able to stand up. She began to walk in circles on the turtle's back, and as she walked, she dragged along the muskrat's clump of dark, rich earth. Slowly, she opened her clenched fists, and fruits and berries and seeds fell beneath her feet. Before long, Turtle Island grew bigger and bigger. Tall plants began to grow on the turtle's back. It became a snug retreat for the water animals and a comfortable refuge for Sky Woman, whose clan, which is tribe or group of people, family and friends, grew larger and larger. Turtle Island, the Haudenosaunee name for America, is home to the descendants of Sky Woman. Cool, right? All right, so now that we know the story, we have to talk about the activity. So, when Sky Woman fell down to earth, the geese had to grab her, and if you remember in the story, the geese started to get tired after a little while. So I thought one of the first thing that we could do would be to design a plane to help carry Sky Woman down to earth and give the geese a break. So that is what we're going to be making today. And in your box, you should have a pool noodle, a part of a pool noodle, some cardboard, a stencil to use and some foam pieces to use for the wings. And what you're going to need to provide yourself from home is tape, or if you have a hot glue gun, I highly recommend using a hot glue gun. But if not, duct tape will work well, pretty much any kind of tape, but duct tape is the strongest. And you will need your own scissors, a glue stick, and a pencil. And hopefully you have all of those things. All right, let's get started. All right, so the first thing you are going to want to do is to take your stencils and cut them out, because we're gonna trace these onto our cardboard and our foam, and so we will need to be able to get to the edges. So cut all of these out. Try to be as careful as possible, but no worries if your cutting is not perfect, as mine is. It is imperfect. All right, so once you have cut out all of your little tracer stencil things, you're going to want to trace these onto your foam and then cut them out from there. And I wrote on here ×2 for these two things, just to remind you that you need 2 of these shapes from both the foam and the cardboard. So but you just need 1 of these guys, because you see 2 and then just 1. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and trace these onto the foam and the cardboard. All right, guys, so I'm done tracing onto the cardboard and the foam. And if you can see, I tried to not have any scraps to try to conserve the materials, which is good. You don't want to waste. And I did that by, sort of fitting the shapes together, which was kind of a geometry lesson in and of itself. And so you can do that too if you want. And now I'm gonna cut everything out, and I'm gonna try to be as straight as possible, because we do want these lines to be somewhat straight so that the plane will fly. So I have cut up my pieces, and I did at one point break one of my cardboard pieces, so I had to trace it on and cut it out on a different spot in the cardboard, but no worries. If you are having trouble cutting the cardboard, I suggest asking a parent or guardian or older sibling to help you, and they can also try using what's called an X-Acto knife, because that probably would make the job a lot easier. All right, so you should have a total of 10 pieces right now. So fins, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, now match your foam pieces with your cardboard pieces. So you see like this, and there's one. Fun little matching game. There's another one. Ugh. There's one, and here's my final match. Pretty fun. And you're gonna wanna glue them together with that glue we talked about. So I'm going to glue on both sides, because that usually helps it stick, because we really want to make sure this sticks, because once we start throwing it in the air, it is going to take a lot of abuse. But another really good thing about this activity though is that you can just keep rebuilding it over and over again, even if it breaks when you're outside, which it probably won't. It's pretty sturdy. Yay! All right. So now you should be back down to 5 pieces because we have combined all of these. So, all right, now we get to do the fun stuff. We are going to assemble our pool noodle plane. Take your pool noodle, and so if you look here, so this is one that I made with hot glue, and it works really well. It's very sturdy. So like I said earlier, if you have access to hot glue, I highly recommend that. But tape is going to work just as well. But this is how you can see what we're going to do. So we have to put, so you guys know we've talked about like things being, oops. I did this on the wrong side. Luckily, it is not that dry yet. No worries. Just fix it. Not gonna let this get us down. Oop, it is sticky, although. All right. So we can just set out our pieces first, just so we know where they're gonna be. You want the big ones towards the front of your pool noodle guy, and the little ones in the back. And we are just going to pull and set aside some tape so that we're ready to go. So I'm gonna need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 little pieces for right now, and then more for this one. It's good to just have it ready, because sometimes when you're holding something together, it doesn't really want to stay. So you need to act fast. So I'm gonna do some long ones for the front guys and short ones for the back guys. Ugh. Scissors might be good too with duct tape. But be careful, because this stuff sticks to itself, and that can get really annoying very fast. So again, these activities, all these makerspaces are meant to do with your family. So I encourage you to, if you're struggling at any point, to get a parent or guardian or older sibling or babysitter to give you some assistance. All right, so I've set aside my tape. And the first one you put on, it doesn't really matter where it goes, because you'll just match the rest of them to that one. But you do want to make sure that there's like this much space towards the front of the plane. Okay, so I'm just gonna set that right there. And I'm going to put the tape on, but only like part ways. And now I'm gonna stick that onto the plane and tape it on. What up? Now you have to flip it over and tape it on the other side. And this is important. You want to make sure it is straight up and down. No flopping, or else your plane probably won't work very well. But luckily, duct tape is so strong, so it's pretty tough. All right, so we did this, and there's not a lot of pressure with the first one, but the second one, there is some pressure, because you do want to make sure it is totally lined up. That's pretty important. So I'm just gonna line it up first, so I sort of know where I'm going, and now I'm gonna put my tape on, just on halfway like we talked about for the first one, like that. And now I'm going to line this up Ah, no pressure. All right, well, wasn't too bad. Now I'm gonna flip it over, do the same thing. And make sure it is not floppy or it will not fly. No floppy here, lovely. All right, now the back guys, and you want these ones to be lined up pretty well with the front guys like this. So I'm gonna take my little piece, just get started with this. You know what to do. We're almost there. So we just have to add on a few more things to make sure it is aerodynamic enough to fly well. So we're gonna put this guy on. And so you just want this right in between your back two wings of the plane. And I probably should have pulled more tape, but that's okay, I can do it now. I'm just gonna take that on just like the other things. Try to keep it as straight as you can. Pretty cool, right? All right, so the way you have it right now, you can try flying it like that, just like this, but you'll notice something happens. So let's take a look. It did a nosedive. So if you are facing the problem where your whole little plane is not like, or it goes backwards like that, is not flying the way you want it to, I read this trick. So there is something you can do, and I guess there's one more piece of supplies that I didn't mention. A nickel. If you put something to weight down the front of the plane, it will fly a little bit better. So if you want to just get nickel 5 cents, or you can try a quarter, you can try a penny, whatever you want, and you tape it to the inside, or the front rather, of the plane, like that. Then it should help equalize the weight, and there you have it. Here's our pool noodle plane, and I have been having a lot of fun playing with this one, so I hope you guys do too. It's, like I said, it's very durable. You can like crash it anywhere and then put it back. If it breaks, you can put it back together. It might not even break. And so yeah, so I hope you guys liked the first Makerspace in the Box. I hope you liked the story of Sky Woman. If you are interested in learning more about the Haudenosaunee people, the Native Americans that live right here near us in Livonia, give us a call. We can find some books for you or recommend movies. And I hope you guys have an amazing week, and come back next time for the next Makerspace in a Box, because this is like honestly really fun for me. So hopefully for you too.